For 17 straight years, right under the noses of the absolute smartest financial minds on the planet, one guy ran the largest financial fraud in human history. I mean, he completely fooled major international banks. He fooled government regulators. He literally even fooled his own sons. And when his meticulously crafted illusion finally collapsed, an unimaginable fortune had just vanished into thin air. So, this is the story of Bernie Madoff, the impossible deception he built, and how absolutely nobody stepped in to stop him until it was way, way too late.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because we really need to start by wrapping our heads around the sheer mind-boggling scale of this number. $65 billion. That's the amount of money that just evaporated when Madoff's scheme fell apart. It's a number so huge it almost loses its meaning, right? But look, this wasn't some overnight bank heist. This was a slow, methodical accumulation of wealth, trust, and deceit that took decades to build up. Madoff didn't just steal cash, he stole the absolute trust of everyone, from massive institutional banks to top-tier financial regulators. To understand how he pulled off his $65 billion lie, we really have to go back to the very beginning.
Section 1. This setup, from lifeguard to Wall Street royalty.
So our timeline starts way back in 1960, in New York City, when a 22-year-old kid named Bernie Madoff decides to start a small trading firm. Now, he doesn't have some massive trust fund to rely on. He actually starts this firm with just $5,000, money he had painstakingly saved up from working as a lifeguard on the beaches of New York. From those incredibly humble, salt-of-the-earth beginnings, he spent the next 3 decades building an empire. And from the outside looking in, it looked like the ultimate American success story. It looked completely, unequivocally legit. Because you have to remember, Madoff wasn't some shady outsider running a boiler room scam out of a damp basement. He was deeply, deeply embedded in the financial establishment. He built a highly successful market-making business on Wall Street. He was so respected that he actually helped design the foundational technology behind the NASDAQ stock exchange. He was literally, by all accounts, regarded as Wall Street royalty. And that right there is exactly why people trusted him. His credibility was his ultimate weapon.
Section 2. The impossible promise and the actual mechanics of the fraud.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the specific nature of his promise. Madoff didn't go out and pitch wild, unbelievable riches, He didn't promise to double your money in a month. If he had, people probably would have been suspicious. Instead, he promised something a lot quieter, but infinitely more seductive to wealthy investors. Steady, consistent returns of 10 to 12% every single year. I mean, look at that beautifully smooth incline. It didn't matter if the broader market was crashing, booming, going completely sideways. Madoff's returns were impossibly perfectly consistent.
But here's the stark, honestly terrifying reality of that promise. On one hand, you have the steady returns he pitched, but on the other hand, you see the truth behind the curtain. Actual trades? None. Zero. Zilch. Beneath that pristine reputation and that flawless track record, there was absolutely no trading strategy happening at all. He wasn't investing the money. He wasn't beating the market. He was completely faking the whole shebang.
So you might be wondering, how on earth do you hide a multi-billion-dollar lie for 17 years? Well, you manufacture the evidence. His firm simply generated completely fabricated account statements. They created fake documents filled with phantom profits just to hide the fact that they weren't making any actual market trades. Month after month, year after year, investors received this official-looking paperwork that proved their money was growing safely. It was all just a mirage, printed on really high-quality paper.
Section 3. Everyone who fell for it and the human cost.
We gotta pause here for a second, because behind all these massive numbers is a genuinely devastating reality. Madoff's client list read like a global who's who. We're talking about massive international banks, we're talking A-list celebrities, but actually scratch that. It wasn't just the ultra-wealthy who took a hit. Entire charitable foundations had all of their capital wiped out overnight, which completely ended their philanthropic work. And tragically, everyday retirees who had entrusted their life savings to this Wall Street royalty suddenly woke up to find every single penny they owned was just gone. These were real people, real retirements, and real institutions that were fundamentally destroyed.
Section 4. Ignored warnings and how the system fails. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer frustration of this whole story. Look at this timeline from 2000 to 2008. People actually tried to sound the alarm. A financial analyst named Harry Markopoulos did the math, realized Madoff's returns were literally impossible, and started sending detailed, urgent reports to the Securities and Exchange Commission as early as 2000. The SEC, the top financial watchdog, actually investigated Madoff multiple times over the course of a decade, and every single time they missed the fraud or simply dismissed the warnings. A whole decade of missed opportunities to stop the bleeding.
Section 5. The 2008 collapse when the illusion finally shatters.
Right, so a house of cards can only stand for so long. The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the brutal, unbreakable math of a Ponzi scheme. It relies entirely on new money coming in to pay out the old investors. But then, the 2008 financial crisis hits. The global market crashes, panic sets in, and suddenly, investors want to pull their money out of Madoff's fund to cover their losses somewhere else. At the exact same time, the flow of new money coming into his firm completely stops. So, step 1, the crash. Step 2, new money stops. Step 3, it becomes mathematically impossible to pay the old investors. The illusion was over. On December 10, 2008, out of options and completely out of time, Bernie Madoff sat in a dim room and finally confessed the entire $65 billion lie to his own 2 sons. The very next day, within 24 hours of that confession, the authorities arrived, the flashing police lights lit up the street, and Madoff was arrested. The world's largest financial magic trick had officially ended. Section 6. The devastating aftermath. Justice and tragedy.
The fallout of this scheme wasn't just financial, right? It left a permanent, dark scar on everyone involved. When the justice system finally caught up to Bernie Madoff, they did not hold back. He was handed a crushing, absolutely final sentence of 150 years in federal prison. There would be no second act for the man who fooled the world. He stayed behind bars for the rest of his life, ultimately dying in prison in 2021.
But you know, the tragedy didn't just end with Bernie's sentencing. His sons, the ones who actually went to the authorities and turned their own father in when they learned the truth, they were completely destroyed by the ensuing fallout. The public scrutiny, the relentless investigations, and just the sheer weight of their father's betrayal tore their lives apart. It is a quiet, truly devastating end to a massive crime.
So what does this all mean for us? What's the real lesson here? It's not just a simple reminder of, don't trust Ponzi schemes. It's way deeper than that. Consistency that seems too perfect is a massive red flag, not a reassurance. In markets, in investments, and honestly just in life, volatility is natural. When someone promises you a perfectly smooth ride, when a situation looks utterly flawless, without a single bump in the road, that is exactly when you need to start asking the hardest questions. Perfection is often just a very well-designed mask.
Which leaves us with this final thought. Bernie Madoff didn't just fool amateurs. He fooled the very architects and watchdogs of our modern financial system for almost 2 decades. So I want to leave you with this. If the most educated, resource-rich institutions on the planet can be entirely blinded by the illusion of perfection, what impossible promises are we blindly trusting in our own lives today? Take a hard look at the sure things around you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you want to uncover more stories like this where we break down the most fascinating complexities of our world, make sure you stick around, because next time we're going to dive into another massive corporate illusion. Until then, stay curious and always question the perfect promise.